Welcome to the Gone Fishing Podcast, episode number 43. In today's episode, I'm going to be having a conversation over coffee with the usual suspects, Ana, Dinka, and Antonio. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Gone Fishing Podcast. Join Ron Bouchard as he casts a wide net sharing his philosophy of life, business, and success, and goes fishing for wisdom in interviews with other entrepreneurs, authors, and thought leaders. You'll hear their stories of triumph and tribulation. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur trying to succeed outside the confines of the current of social expectation, bring the bait and join us for Gone Fishing.
Welcome to the Gone Fishing Podcast, episode number 43. I'm your host, Ron Bouchard. In today's episode of Conversations Over Coffee, I have four special guests. Me, of course, and he's a life coach and captain of a purple boat, joining us from the fantabulous Isle of Barbados, Antonio Seale. Say something, Antonio.
Aye, Captain. Aye.
She's an executive agent extraordinaire who pretends to be a lamb, but is actually a tiger, and I have the scars to prove it. It's Ana Silveira.
Hello.
And she'll have you California dreaming in her coaching sessions by Dinka, the drunken monkey whisperer, Dinka Vujovich.
Hello.
Thanks all of you for joining in today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Ron, for having us.
Yes.
So what I decided to do with this episode of Conversations by Coffee is just have a casual conversation about our journey so far in the 43 episodes of the Gone Fishing Podcast. And I'm going to start this by throwing a question over to Antonio. Mr. Antonio, we've I think of all four of us, we speak probably the most. I think you have me on the phone for about 16 hours a day. But anyway.
Oh, when was that ever a problem?
So we talked at the beginning of this process over a year ago now about the different names for the Gone Fishing Podcast. And I don't think the audience really understands what those names actually were supposed to be. And we joke about them. You actually just were joking about it a few minutes ago. So why don't you explain to the audience what the different names we're going to use for the podcast and what you think about them, really.
You mean the painstaking? Okay. So compass points is one of them because, of course, we deal with boats, compass and all that, and acceleration podcast was another one. And those weren't ringing a bell, really. So then we came up with, it was before Gone Fishing. What was it? It was, oh man, I forgot, but it was very close. What was it? Help me, Ron.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You're leaving me suspense. I'm here on the edge of my seat trying to figure out what you're saying because I have no idea.
Yeah, but anyway, Gone Fishing Podcast really rang a bell, and then we went with that. It was quite an hour trying to figure this out.
An hour?
Yes, it was long. Yes, it was long.
An hour's not very long. It was like a couple of weeks.
No, that day it was actually an hour that day.
Ana, is that how you remember it?
No, not really.
Really?
No, Antonio. I think it was longer than that. Yeah.
I think it's quite a bit longer than an hour.
No.
It would take me longer to do the art revisions than an hour.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the name though.
Yeah, even the name.
When we finalized it, I think it was about an hour, but we had gone through it a couple of weeks, going back and forth. Yes.
Yes, it was long that. But I was talking about the name. That's
okay. When we decided which one, and we had three names, and then we decided to go with Gone Fishing.
Afterwards,
So,
What-
Dinka, why don't you tell the audience what it's been like for you on this journey with the Gone Fishing podcast? Because you have one of the top 5 podcasts, and I don't think the audience knows it, but podcast number 3 on the Drift Currents of Social Expectation ranks as one of the top 5 podcasts. So, what's your journey been like? I mean, I kind of dragged you into it kicking and screaming.
It has been a great asset to my coaching because I was able to sort of verbalize everything I'm doing, and I learned a lot in the process because it's different when you're out there telling your story, and it just becomes more real and more personal than when you are thinking about it or telling your clients. It's just I learned a lot. It made me go out of my comfort zone and talk about things that are really difficult for me, and it's been a wonderful journey. As I said, I learned a lot, and I hope that I helped some people in the process. So yeah, it's been just wonderful. I really, really enjoyed every episode. And the ones that I was in, I felt really good participating, even though it was a little scary in the beginning. But yeah, a great experience.
And what do you think about the timeliness of that particular episode number 3, and what's going on in the current climate?
What do I think? Well, I hope that it resonated with a lot of people when we did that episode. I believe that was about like 9-10 months ago, right? Like that. Yeah, probably, maybe even a year. I think that episode, what exactly would you like me to?
Well, just the whole impact of the drift current social expectation, the 4 sociological forces that make up those drift currents of social expectation, and how relevant it is today in this media climate where, I mean, everyone knows that we are at the age of disinformation. So, and that was a year, we were already way ahead of
Yes.
the curve. We didn't know how bad, I didn't even know how bad it was going to get, but it got really bad, and it's getting worse. So
it was spot on, and it was something that, as you say, you foresaw, and we had that episode. And I think that people who really had an open mind and wanted to hear what we had to say can see now that everything we talked about is playing in real time, and it's really scary. And yeah, I'm proud of us that we came up with that episode and said what we had to say. And I'm hoping that people will listen to that episode again now and get some value out of it, and perhaps change the way they think and live their life. Because, change starts with one person. And if we all become aware and open our eyes and start listening, maybe then we can actually change what's going on right now, because what's going on right now is very scary.
it is very, very scary. Now, Ana, you were in the first episode, which also happens to be the number 1 episode, especially because it's first. And it's also the most difficult episode for us to create because we're both on the spot. We don't know what to expect. We're not professionals behind the microphone. And you even were timid. Because you thought you were the little lamb. And people comment all the time about the growth and your growth through the entire process. But why don't you tell me from your perspective what it was like to be on the first episode of the Gone Fishing podcast?
Well, it was very scary, and I didn't know what to expect. And obviously my drunk monkey came along, and the lamb was pulling me back of not putting things in my head of, I'm not going to sound smart enough. I'm not going to make sense. It's going to sound stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. And finally, I'm like, you know what? You need to be quiet, and I'm going for it, because that was one of my fears, and it still is, of speaking, public speaking. And I just been, plugging away, and now I feel much more comfortable. And throughout the episodes, I know people have made comments how I talk more and I feel more comfortable. And I was scared. It was one of my fears, but I did it. And I've accomplished a lot, and I've accomplished a lot of fears that I've had. And once you do it, once you accomplish that, once you go over that hurdle, then you're like, oh, okay, I can do that. What's the next one? So yeah, it was scary, but I'm so glad I did it, because I feel like I'm coming out of my comfort zone. So it's been very, very helpful.
And we give you constructive criticism back and forth to help you grow. And I have to say that you've been amazing at taking that constructive criticism and using it for your growth. And you can see it. Sometimes the lamb still comes out, but I'm not fooled by the lamb. I have the scar. Like I said, I have scars that goes every once in a while. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I'm not buying this little innocent little honor routine anymore.
Yeah.
So Antonio, you have some questions for some of the guests, huh? We have a panel. We're going to give questions back and forth, and you prepared some questions, right?
Yeah. Well, this question is to Ana.
Mhm.
Now, when you got your first breakthrough, right? How did that impact your life moving forward?
My first
The first breakthrough. Because remember in episode 1,
Mhm.
you was talking about that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. My first breakthrough was when I was talking to Ron, and I was being coached by the number one coaching in real estate, which they are a great company. It's just that I was missing a piece. I call it the missing piece. So it was the foundation. And when Ron and I were talking, and he mentioned about your unconscious, and that's when he talked about the drunk monkey and how what is it, Ron, 92% or 93%, 95 that you're unconsciously doing things. And that made me aware that I was doing a lot of things that I was unconsciously doing them. So the drunk monkey, the lamb, was coming out and being very timid, and that wasn't me. So that was a big break through, and it's been great. Maybe some people probably don't think so, but
no, sometimes now in the episodes, the lamb will come out, and I think it's very interesting because people can hear it, and I think it's important because you open yourself to the vulnerability, and you're allowing people to see your growth and how you're moving forward through this process, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
Because we're all different parts of the journey.
Yeah, and hopefully I will help someone that is in that situation, and if I can help them, it will make me happy, because you want to be who you are, and don't let the fear take over. Just do it. Like the Nike commercial, just do it.
Right, that's right.
Come a long way, Ana. Yeah. From the podcast number 1, you've really come wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This next one is going to Dinka. Now, what inspired you to be a life coach?
What inspired me to be a life coach is healing from my cancer. Now, people who listen to podcast number 2, I think, where we talked about the drunk monkey, we introduced the drunk monkey. This is my shirt, sober your drunk monkey. Talked about my journey, that I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer 4 years ago, and I was told that I only have 3 months to live, that I'm terminal, that I'm inoperable, and there was nothing they can do for me. And at that moment, I had a voice, and I know that was that divine mission that you talk about, Ron, that voice from God, that I was told that I am going to be okay, I'm going to live, because there was something else that I needed to do in this life. And that's how my journey started. Then I obviously, realized that the harsh truth is that there is no quick solution, that Western medicine system just wants us to quickly suppress symptoms. I realized that I had to, in my case, they didn't even have, cure for me. And at that point, when I was told that, I only have 3 months to live, but once that voice in me, once I heard that voice, I got hope, and I believed wholeheartedly that I will heal. I didn't know how, but I knew that I will. And guess what? Just because I had that hope and I believed, God and universe came to my rescue. And after 2 months, 2 weeks, and all the tests they were doing on me, they told me there was this experimental medication that they will try that can maybe help me. So I believe that just because I didn't stop, this is why this medication just somehow happened to work for me and happened to be there at the right time. And then I had to, of course, learn how to not only get rid of the symptoms and cancer, but heal myself from within, which meant finding the root cause of my illness. I had to figure out why I got sick. And this is where I started this journey on healing myself from inside, not just my physical illness, but, healing on a mental, emotional, energy, and spiritual level. And as you can see, I'm healed. I'm okay. I am healthy. I am 100% cancer free. And to answer your question, and Antonio, that's what, made me become a life coach, because I knew that was my mission. That was my purpose. Because there is this saying, there's this law of universe where they say that when a certain person or anyone from a species, let's say here we're talking about human species, can accomplish something that's, quote, impossible, which was impossible. They told me, I was terminal. If that person is able to accomplish something impossible, they have a moral duty to show that to the world and help other people. And so this is where I think it took all these years. It took a cancer for me to finally, find out what my divine mission is. And that's why I became a life coach. It's a long answer to a short question.
No, that's a perfect answer. That's beautiful. It answered it.
Yeah.
And you didn't know.
It makes me a little emotional. So I know I was.
Don't worry, you could cry on my shoulder.
And you didn't know all these years. God's been giving you the nudging. This is your mission. This is your mission. This is your mission. This is your mission. And it wasn't until you get to the end where you were in terminal cancer mode that you really had to put up or shut up, right? I mean, you had to do the hard work and come to the realization that, hey, there's something behind this. What are you trying to tell me, God? And that's where we met. We met when you were in coaching, and we were going through the same coaching program.
That's a very inspirational story, Dinka.
Yes, it is.
My mom, she listens to the podcast, and she talks about it. She said, that lady that had the cancer that got rid of it. That's how she brought it over, but she listened. But it's a very inspirational story,
And what that is that if I didn't believe in that voice, and if I just said no, I'm just going to die, I'm sure that experimental medicine somehow would have not been a match for me. Because I made a decision. I am going to live. I don't know how I am going to live. And people thought I was crazy. And I even told the thoracic surgeon who was, taking all the water from my lungs, and I don't want to go into all the details. I said to him, I know you don't believe me, but I will live. I will be fine. Because I knew. And, once you decide to, once you make that decision,
Mhm.
God comes and helps you. And that's why I think that medication was 100% match for me. And that's when everything else just kind of fell into place. It was a long journey, and I had to really work on many issues, which is another story that I'm not going to go into right now. But this is why I am really well equipped to help people, not just with cancer, but with any kind of illness. I lived it, and so I know how to help people. And thank you, Antonio, for say hi to your mom if she's listening. Hello.
Oh, she'll listen. She'll listen.
Yeah.
She's on top of it. She loves Ron. Very
Who
beautiful. Lady.
doesn't? Who doesn't
Yeah.
love Ron?
I'm
You want the
still-
list?
Okay, now this one's for you, Ron.
Oh, no.
Oh no? What
Yep.
did you think about me when you first met me? I'm just kidding.
I
When
need,
did
I need vodka in my coffee for that.
all right, so when did you know what your life purpose was?
I knew what my life purpose was when I was in pursuit of answering the question to why the hell aren't these real estate professionals who I'm taking door to door? Why aren't they doing what I'm showing them how to do in person? Why aren't they taking action?
Mhm.
Why is it that I'm showing them to knock on the door, to say the same words, and I'm showing them how to get in the door? They're actually seeing me do it, and they can't duplicate it. So what was the difference between them and me? What was the difference that made the difference? And that sent me on a journey, and I did not know that on the journey I was going to meet up with my life purpose, and I received the calling, and that's all. That's a long story for another day, but I'll never forget it for as long as I live. But that's what happened.
So was it very emotional for you?
I can't say it was very emotional because I was already knee deep in the hoopla. When you start walking the path towards the lighthouse, bringing reference to last week, when you start walking towards the lighthouse, you already kind of know you're on the right path because you start feeling fulfilled. You know you're on the path. You don't know exactly what your calling is because you weren't told that it's your calling, but you know. And I always knew when I was on the path. And most of the time in my life, I was on the path. I didn't know why I was on the path. I was following a path that was outside the current social expectation. So nobody understood me because I was walking a completely different path than everyone else, doing things that typical people don't do. And they're looking at me like, what the heck is this guy doing? Why can't you just settle down and stay in one? But I couldn't. Because each place I went to was developing me for the next position in life, and the next position, and the next position, and the next position. God was molding me and building me. And I just went along for the ride. And I ended up where I belonged. And where I go in the future that's up to him too.
Politics.
Yeah, well, that's another story.
Yep, so beautiful. It's a great story. It's something for the portfolio. It's something that needs to be done, and that's you bringing glory to God in whatever form. That's you bringing glory to God, and I'm on the path with you, and listening to Rocky talk. Ladies, let me tell you, Rocky's something else.
But on a serious note, Antonio, I have a serious question for you too.
Oh
yeah. When I first met you, you had a completely different idea or different point of view as to what it meant to be white, what it meant to be outside of your sphere. And when you first met me, you didn't like me.
I didn't trust you.
So can you tell the audience about that transformation and what you consider our relationship to be today?
Okay, so the reason why I didn't trust Ron, it was a belief. Okay, it was I would say it wasn't a fatalistic belief, but it was a belief of, okay, he's a broker. It's how he looked and everything. He's a broker. Wall Street, steal your money, all this, and he was very loud. It sounds like he was very argumentative, aggressive. So with my belief, it packed on even more to why I didn't gravitate to him like that. And they give him time. So, but that was very short-lived though. I was actually in his office studying for real estate. And he was in the other office talking to his agents, and behind the closed doors, it was like he was yelling at them, and that was even pounding into my belief, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, right? So unknowing to me that this is Ron, this is how he brings over himself. He wasn't yelling. As we know how Ron is now, he wasn't yelling. And I didn't trust him. And then after we got into a good conversation in the boardroom, I started to like him. How? Well, one, I found out that whole thing was a total belief. And I really felt sorry for doing it to him, right? Based on the areas that I was brought up in, and the mindsets that I was brought up in, and what they push in these in the said communities out there, which is very bad. Okay, so we started to talk and things of that nature. He started to, of course, talk to me about the drunk monkey. But what really rang it home about my change for Ron is a two-way compass of our different. We are different. We have a lot of elements within us, but we overwork more than one of them. And Ron is a fire. So Ron taught me about that, to teach me that. So then it brought more clarity to who he was. So the belief systems need to change, because I'm said black, he said white, and we're able to be the best friends, right? And this can be done, but nobody gives it a chance because it's pushed down people's throat, So this could work. It can work. We need to be better human beings. We need to love one another. Whatever, big ears, small ears, big eyes, small eyes.
Purple boats.
You're on this purple boat again.
Not the purple boat.
Yeah, but I hope that people would use our friendship as a stepping stone to be better, because there's certain people that wants us to be divided, and the four of us, we could stop all that. We just need to love more, and give people a chance and be tolerant. That's a big word. So Ron tolerated my bull crap, but now we be good, and here we are.
Yeah, good answer.
And you know what? If I can just add, this is such a wonderful example as to what you're, Antonio, is saying, that we need to be more loving, but there's also another thing, that we listen to our conditioning, we listen to our thoughts, and our beliefs are the biggest bullies because we live by those beliefs and we don't even question them. You were smart to, like we go about life with these uninvestigated, unquestioned beliefs, and we go on autopilot, just like what you were saying. He's white, he's probably arrogant, he's entitled, who knows what else, and look at you, how smart you are, that you actually said, you know what, I'm going to open my heart and I'm just going to put on the side this drunk monkey. Maybe you didn't even know what a drunk monkey at the time is, but I'm going to actually use my head and see if this man is worth my time. And then you actually felt bad for labeling him for something that is not even yours. It's something that put into us at the age of 7, that we're conditioned, and we start believing it. That's really true. And that's how we live our life. So that's how I also teach my clients. And I hope in these podcasts, we were able to make people think and say, okay, I don't have to agree with this. I don't have to believe this guy, Ron, or his panel is there, but, let me find out for myself. Let me really be honest with myself. And that's how we can make this world. And this is a wonderful example of YouTube.
It's so much that we
Yep.
miss. It's so much that we miss when we don't give people chances, based on this dogmata that's
Uh-huh.
being pumped. It's so much that we could achieve. There's so much people in so-called good positions that want to help the lowly, but we don't give them a chance. Let's say lowly, but this labeling need to go. This level stuff need to go. All this crap just need to be gone, because it's not doing humanity any good. It's not. And there's many reasons why I could get into say you got to be loving. When you love, the action of loving, you and truth, it does great for your body, health wise. Spiritually, it does great for you, and it does great for the whole soul group, because we're a soul group. You see, so we just need to get going and cut the crap.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And always ask questions. Never settle for whatever monkey's trying to tell us, or what. Ask questions, and that's what you did. That shows wisdom and intelligence. Hey, I'm going to investigate this limited belief. Is that really true? Is it serving me? Is it serving this humanity? No. And once you realize that, then everything changes.
It wasn't true. None of it was true. It was all illusion.
That's because of the current social expectation. Currents are formed when hot and cold waters blow against the surface of the water, and whoever beats the other in that fight determines the direction of the current. So those those winds are constantly fighting each other, pushing us, and we don't question the wind. It's kind of like the who shook the jar analogy that you.
Oh,
you
I love it. Yeah, that
Mhm.
brings it home.
Yeah.
If you want
Talk
to,
about
you want
Yeah,
to.
you can talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, ladies, if you have a mason jar, and you put a red ant and a black ant inside the jar and you shake it, what's going to happen to the ants?
If you shake it, what's
If you
going to
shake the jar, what's going to happen to the ants?
They're going to try to, I guess, jump out. But I don't know. They can jump out.
Anna, what's going to happen to the ants if you shake the jar vigorously?
Yeah.
Vigorously, what's going to happen to the ants?
I don't think nothing's going to happen to the ants. I mean, you just shake them, they just stay there. You're just shaking them, correct?
Ron, what's going to happen to the ants?
Well, if you leave the ants in the jar by themselves, nothing happens. But if you shake the jar, the black ants and the red ants fight. Because the red ants think the black ants attack them, and the black ants think the red ants attack them. But the reality is neither attacked the other. The question
So who's the enemy?
asked is, who shook the jar?
Who's the enemy?
And we never pay attention to who shook the jar. We always pay attention to, we always react. We have an opportunity in our life to learn to act consciously. But a lot of times we just react. Our monkey causes us to react unconsciously rather than act purposefully, because we're questioning everything. When you question everything, and I mean everything, you start pulling down the walls that the monkey's setting up for you. You start to see clearly. And then you can start questioning and looking for, answers beyond the obvious black and red ants in the jar. You can start looking inside there and say, well, who shook the jar?
I got some interesting answers from that.
Yeah.
Some people told me, this one guy, he paused, thought about it, and then said, the red ants killed the black ants. The red ants beat up the black ants. Like, Okay, so you see where people's mindset is at with that,
Mhm.
you know? But it's pretty interesting. But the question is, who shook the jar? That's what we're gonna ask. Who's shaking the jar?
And the
Yeah.
jar is being shaken every day in our media. And we have
Mhm.
to be careful of that reality. We have to understand that the media is shaking the jar, and we don't want to go down the path and attack each other.
And it's been done through history. We can see it, and we're repeating the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is off the question, but to you, Dinka, now you said that. Now, based on what we're going through now, right? How do you feel? And I always think about you a lot. Like you had experiential knowledge in Serbia with this stuff, and now you come here, and now it's formulating. You escaped it there. Now you come here, and you could. What's your what would be the solution that you would tell the public, like you display to defeat to beat all this? Where would we stand? Like, help us out here. You know?
Well, you know what would be the solution?
Yeah. Like in your eyes, like
People just wanted to hear my story. People don't. Most people don't. That's what's happening. It's not just my story. It's story from people who came from Cuba, or they don't want to hear it.
Okay.
So the problem is, again, going to their belief system. They know what they know. And I had people telling me, don't confuse me with the facts. When I had the facts, don't confuse me with the facts, because I just want to hang on to this belief that I have, even if it's detrimental to me. This is how crazy, some people are. So yes, I want to tell everyone I left Yugoslavia. That was Yugoslavia at the time, because it was a communist country, and because we were destroyed completely as a nation. We had many ethnic groups, and what happened is happening here too. They tried to, divide us into different teams and start hating each other. It was because we were all white. It was religious, three religions there, and so they each started hating each other. And then, of course, the war happened, which lasted many, many years, and we're still there's still consequences of that war right now. Now we're all separate countries, and so I saw the signs and symptoms of the same happening here. I have to be honest with you, even 15 years ago, maybe even not even 15 years ago, I would say more acutely, but I saw some problematic areas when I was in college here, because I saw what the academia was teaching people here. And I at the time, tried to talk to some of my professors, and here I came from this country, and I know that what you're saying here doesn't hold water. Some professors listened to me, some didn't. And then I have to say, in the last 15 to 10 years, I could see more acutely, like, what you're saying, all this race war in America between Black people, and that wasn't enough. Then it was rich people and poor people. Now it's, of course, now it's not enough, the politics between Republicans and Democrats. Now it's COVID, people who
vaccinated, unvaccinated. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what can I say? I can just say learn from history. Go and look up some movies. You can see movies on Netflix, or going to the library, or you can just go on Google now and check what happened with all the communist countries. And this is what we have here right now. You guys know, I don't even have to say it. You're not allowed to say anything anymore that doesn't concur with the mainstream media. So I am devastated, because I lost my country once. I would have never left my country. I left my country because I didn't want to live in a system where I'm not free. And I came here, and I love this country, and I embraced it, and I'm an American citizen. And now I see my second country falling apart, and it's I'm losing my second country. I lost my first one, I'm losing my second country, and it's it's very sad and it's very upsetting to me. And what's more upsetting is that how many people don't want to hear my story when now things are really bad. Nobody wants to work. But before, maybe like a few years ago, people would ask me where I was from, and I would start telling them, and they just don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They made up their mind, and that's what it is. Everything is going through that filter. And no matter what I say, it's not going to make any difference. It's too bad because you can, smart people should learn on other people's examples. Why does this country have to destroy itself? When there's so many immigrants here that wanted to come to this country? That should be the first question. Why are people not immigrating to Soviet Union or to Cuba? Why does everybody want to come here? And now they want to destroy it. So I don't know what to tell you. Really,
We gotta come together, we gotta come together. This need to be stopped, and we can do it. It can be done. It happened before, it can happen again.
It's already happening.
And this question that Ron asked you, Antonio, was an excellent question that proves that change starts with one person, willing to really be open. You were open because Ron could have said whatever he wanted to say. If you were not open, you would still have your prejudice against him, right? But you were open, and you.
Well, yeah. Growing up in the Caribbean, is this tourist industry. I worked at a hotel. There's white people everywhere. I got a lot. I wasn't that gone. Okay, but I still had my monkey. Still had a little thing in there based on certain things I've seen. But what I've come to find out within that period of time is that these individuals also are suffering from the same nonsense. So it's a blame game. The point finger is what made me feel good if I tear you down and this and that and that and that. You're white, I'm staying away from you. You're black, I'm not gonna come near you, or I'm gonna just talk to you just because I have to. Now that's being uncomfortable. If I need to talk to you because I have to, I don't really want to, that's not real at all. That's discomfort, period, right? And this is the up and down, the ebbs and flows I've been going through. And as I said, I wasn't all that gone because I knew something was wrong. Okay, because I have some friends that are Caucasian that I love. Okay, and coming from the Caribbean, it's a whole new different world. Because a guy told me that when I was working at the hotel, I was the activities coordinator there. He told me one day, the black people are different here. It's Barbados than in America. I'm like, really? I meet a lot of people all over the world. I meet so much people. Okay. And these were all eye-openers for me at the time being in Barbados. I traveled a lot. You learn. You got to get out. You don't, whatever's put in front of your face is propaganda. You're being steered. You got to get out and learn for yourself. I opened up my heart to Ron. Okay. And what am I now? Life coach, hypnotherapist. What else? There's so many things. What else? A spiritual life coach, shamanistic life coach, nuisance to Ron. I'm saying though, there's so much channels that could be open and you'll feel much better and not be chained. You're in the chain. You're in the current chain down.
Because you were willing to ask who is shaking the jar. You were willing.
Right. And Ron injured me. He was. I still pin him to the ground for that. I said, that's illegal. You shouldn't be doing that. I was just kidding with him, but he went in and do his Waypoint injury and whatnot, as you heard me talk about. And I had the uploads in the dream, and I'm the next individual for him to know about Waypoint. So I cannot fail the Waypoint system, because the Waypoint system helped you, Anna, help me, help you, Dinka, and now, like, Ron is not going to tell you the times that I waypointed him and stuff like that, because right? Are you gonna be so enlightened to share it?
Am I going to share what? I mean, my own son uses it against me. My son hears me on the phone, and will hear me say something that's profound, and he'll memorize it, and then he'll throw it back at me. His favorite phrase is "opinions don't matter," because I tell him opinions don't matter, and he's quick to throw it back at me when I tell him that I don't like his particular character in a video game, or his video game choices are lousy. He said, "Opinions don't matter, so why are you still talking?"
There you go.
You need people you need people to do that to you. It shows that it's working. You're getting into that Waypoint lingo. And it's time for us to share it with the world now. All right, that's enough for me. My winded self.
I had a question for Okay.
Who's your question for?
Anna.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Anna, my question to you is, what skill have you acquired by becoming a lion that is helping you now in your everyday life and also making you a better real estate agent?
That's a great question. And the skills that I think it's making me better is I am setting metrics and setting what I want for my business, my relationships, and setting boundaries. I never did that before. Being kind of timid, or the lamb, just going with the flow and not ruffling anybody's feathers and just not speaking up because I felt that they weren't going to listen to me anyway. But by bringing out who I really am, and standing up for what I believe in, and it's making me stronger. Every day it's making me stronger. And I'm doing things that I thought that I would never do. As being a real estate agent, I prospect. That means that, you talk to people. I door knock, which a lot of people feel very uncomfortable. I've been doing that for 2 years. And so that's something that I also feel comfortable now. So all these little things just keep building that foundation. So it just keeps helping and you keep growing, and just knowing that you can do it, and not letting other people's opinion make you not do it, or, people's opinion that you're not as smart as your siblings, or things like that you're not even aware. So you have to become knowledgeable of what's going on. And so once you know that all of this is really going on, it's not my opinion. It's not me thinking. It was whoever said that, who labeled you. And that's one thing that I don't like, is when people label kids, because then they become that child, if they're shy, or if they're not smarter enough, or they're not smart like the other student. We shouldn't compare. We should not compare, because that's just going to keep going, and that's how you're going to think that's who you are.
Mm-hmm. So you're actually now so much closer to your authentic self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we're close to our authentic self, we stop that self-betrayal, where we mechanisms we learned in childhood, where we, as you said, have no boundaries, where we have this low self-worth, and basically live somebody else's life, not our own life. And once we start becoming aware of that and building those skills, that's when we're closer and closer to our authentic selves. And that's once you are, then it's so much easier to even, keep those boundaries and really speak your heart and live your life on purpose. Really, that's wonderful. As I said, you come along with me from that first episode. Lion in you is really, thriving, and that's wonderful.
Thank you. And it's something that Ron and I talked about, the decisions that I made when the tiger decisions, as he says, it's always been good decisions. And I wasn't aware of that until Ron brought that to my attention. And the lamb decisions, it's always been something that never really worked out because that's not who I was. So decisions that I made make me grow.
Yeah.
So becoming a better person and becoming who you are.
Yeah, that's what God wants us. Yeah. Well, that's one. Yeah. Go ahead.
We're going to embrace who you are, because who you are was special and made for something very special. And you're starting to understand that deeply, that you put on this earth for something very special. And you're going to help other people to see that there's hope for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's your journey, and that's your vision.
Be the change.
Yeah.
Be the change.
By having the courage to show your vulnerability and to let people into this world and to see your growth is amazing and should be commended, because not too many people will be able to do that. So where you think you're weak, you should say, I'm weak, little frail little lamb. You are not. You are a tiger. You've allowed people in. You've stood in the spotlight for episode 1, even though it was hard. You prospect even though it's hard and difficult. You allow people to see vulnerable side even though it's hard, and you do it. And you don't realize that you're doing this all the time. That's strength.
That's strength. Yeah, exactly. Showing your vulnerability.
Yeah, vulnerability is not weakness, it's strength.
Strength. That's very important, especially when you're dealing with relationships. How females see relationships, or gay females, but that's a big thing to know, that vulnerability is strength and not a weakness, because things go south when you think that vulnerability is weakness. You want to put on a facade. Well, if I put on a facade that, I'm a female, so I'm gonna pretend to be male so that you can't beat me up. Thinking that, and vice versa too, that. But these are very important points. As small as they are, they're huge.
Yeah.
They're huge for major changes. The slightest thing, like you look at a Concorde on a fast aircraft on a runway, smallest tiny rock, boom, that's it. Things will shift real fast.
Yeah, it's all about control. People don't want to show their vulnerabilities. It's all about holding on to that control. But once they realize that actually that they have no control at all, they're timid, they're afraid. And once they relinquish that control and become vulnerable, that's where the strength comes. And that's a very big misconception. People think that. Well, I have a question for Antonio.
Well, is it hard or easy? I don't know if I could take this.
Okay, so in the episode where you talked about, Ron, and you talked about the keychain, I was always intrigued, and I wanted to ask you this question. If you can give me an example, how did the keychain transform you? Give me one example when you felt depressed and anxious. And that was a very heartfelt episode for me because you were very vulnerable and you really opened up, and that was great. I want to ask you to give me one example when you felt depressed and anxious. What was the one small action that you took in order to change the desperate state that you were in and turn it into an empowering moment? And I know you were talking about not feeling, good enough, and then you said that keychain was a kind of a catalyst. It was a metaphor that gave you that strength. I just wanted to know, what was that one action that keychain inspired for you to become the captain of your ship? Those were your words, and not your monkey.
Well, even today, okay, so it's a ship's wheel. And what does a ship's wheel do? It guides you, right? So every time that metaphor, so when I was anxious with anxiety, of course I was alone, right? And it would come and go. I will always take that keychain, hold on to it, because this is the power symbolism, okay? And know what it's for, put me back on track. The words that Ron told me, this is to keep you on course. So once you know what it is, keep me on course. When I'm drifting, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of not being focused, because I was focused on the path with Ron, okay, to finding my purpose. And we could vary off that path, but the keychain would bring me back into focus, the ship's wheel. So everything is compacted into that wheel. So you're going through something right now. If you're going through something right now, like you've been going through, all right? Your focus went off course. Take that ship's wheel, hold on to it, and you can see, try it. You can see what happens.
Because it symbolizes who's in control of your boat. It's either you or the monkey. Who's in control?
Right.
If you don't have control of your boat, who does? And if you allow society to be in control of your boat, you're going to end up in the rocks.
Yeah, I despair.
Yeah.
I was on the rocks of despair really bad. I mean, if I didn't have the strength that I had, I probably would have killed myself. And that's serious. I probably would have killed myself. So I knew at that point that life wasn't happening. It was happening for me and not to me. When that sank in was at the hotel, because I was living at a hotel, and the individuals that was at the hotel and the individuals that I met was individuals that I would have never met if I wasn't in this situation. I met people that was heavy on cocaine but I didn't push them away. I listened to the stories. People are really hurting out there, and these individuals had real lives. You should not walk by anyone. I got my wisdom from all this and talking to people that you would call a low life. Don't ever do that. Ever, because you could be there in a minute, in a split second.
Yeah.
You got to appreciate life, appreciate people, appreciate where you at, and learn from that I'm saying life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I couldn't see it, that it was happening for me.
And the key just changed your focus, which is good. That's a good chain, was that focus. And where your focus is, that's where your energy goes. So
yes,
this was
I enlightened, matter of fact, even in that low state of anxiety and going through my problems, I knew that this right here was my divine mission. Because even in that low state and hurting, I was enlightening people around me. People on dope, people, heavy drinkers. A lady got put out of her home the landlord didn't care about her, put her out of her home. Her mother was on life support, like the tank, and a baby. I literally and I used to drive people around. We used to go to the store together, and I met friends, I met people, like connect with people. This is real life stuff, and I bring that as my superpower towards what I'm doing, because my conviction is gonna be more authentic and sincere, and all because that ship's wheel. You know what I'm saying? Bring me back into focus. It's a very powerful thing, and that's why we give it out in our to our clients, coaching sessions. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And I don't think people understand, this is the ship's wheel, but I don't think people understand the dire situation you were in, and we don't talk about it very often. We don't go in detail how dire it was, but you put in a very difficult position, and I had to judge how much I was going to be willing to help you, because I didn't want you to be weak. And people think that giving somebody a hand out lifts them up, but sometimes it doesn't. So you needed to build your strength on your own and see that you could do it. And I stood as guardrail. I was constantly in your life, but I let you fail. I let you fall.
And that was the pain point. That was the painful part of it. But I appreciate that. And that's why I take with me to help others, because you want to build on other people's strength. You want people to be stronger. You can't have them being weak by dependency. You're not the government, well, we are the government, but
The tea bag.
now the tea bag. I'm glad you said that. Now, in the tea bag, that was the quote that Ron, when we first started this, a tea bag don't get stronger. Let's just dip in hot water. That brought me out of where I was, and put me in a proper perspective. I took that quote with me on, and I was repeating it. That was my quote back then. On and on and on. And this is the quote I teach other people too, in that low state, and it brought them out of stuff. So I was coaching while I was hurting. So then the ship's wheel came through after we roll out, and that intensified what my focus was. This is all part of discovery. So you got to discover who you are. Truthfully, we can't do anything unless we discover who we are. Relationship, nothing. So we need a total overhaul, period. This is non-negotiable. That's what it is. That's where we can put that. Discovery is ideal. Is ideal. And I stay strong on that, because I'm very passionate about where I was, and I look at my ex-wife. I still have love for her. We have 2 daughters together. And the only way out of this is to show love, is to be there. Regardless if you're together or not, you got children, and you got children in the framework. You just got to be there for them. No selfish nothing. Everything's done now. It's just them. So I'm there for her, and I'm going to be there for her always. And the children love that. But this is not only for myself and her. This is like all across the board. As we talk about giving love and being truthful to each other and things of that nature, this is what needed, because it heals. And I witnessed that firsthand. That's why I'm going to share.
And I told you that the Calvary wasn't coming.
Mm-hmm.
And when you know that the Calvary's not coming, you become self-reliant.
Yeah.
And you appreciate the help that you get, but you know that help is short-lived, and you're going to have to rely on yourself and your own strength. And then you discover you have your strength within you to be all you need to be. Because that light's still shining on the water, even when it looks hopeless.
Mhm.
We're stronger than we think we are.
That's the best gift you could have given him. That's just like raising children. You have to let them sometimes fall and learn. Because yeah, this is the gift that you gave Antonio, that you let him fall and go through the hot water and build his own resources. Yeah.
It's a channeling. It's a channeling that, because what happens is things start to appear. You know, certain creative ways start to appear in front of you. You know, and things of that nature. So even dealing with your anxiety, with spiritual tools, meditations, and things like that, you can't do nothing unless you relax. So due to the fact that I've been in that arena for like, 30 years, I've been trying to do that. And that was my moment in time where I continue. There's times where I didn't want to do it because the focus, but I knew that's non-negotiable. I had to do it and I had to be relaxed. And a lot of channels opened up creative pathways in doing things. Even in finances, when I'm low, I find out different ways doing things, cut back on, so we have these tools to us. We just gotta grab at it and give ourselves a chance, and we could do it. It's not that bad if we're gonna die. you know.
And that's why I've been spending the last 10 years developing all these little tools, all these little phrases, all these little symbols, all these little techniques to take people from where they are and bring them to where they need to be.
Well, I have a question for you, Ron, now, as long as we're talking about that. So first I want to say that I am so happy that, we work together, we're colleagues, we ran into each other, because I have learned a lot from you. You have inspired me, supported me, and you helped me meet my monkey. So I'm very grateful. And you continue to inspire me with, your generosity and your dedication. Now, I know that currently you are involved in probably 10 projects that are very dear to your heart, and you work tirelessly and passionately and diligently in order to make this world a better place and bring awareness to as many people as possible, that they don't have to live the life of the quiet desperation. My question to you is, with all the projects and now everything you're doing, all your dedication, if you could pick one, which accomplishment would you like to be remembered by the most?
That is a crazy question. Are you going to kill me off? I'm going to have to remember it in planning my memorial.
I know you're involved in, right now, as I said, about 10. You're very passionate about each one of them, and you really work tirelessly. But which is that one that Ron, like in your heart, when you're thinking and sitting and thinking about your accomplishments and where you feel that real inner joy? I know all of them give you inner joy, but what is that one that you would like to be remembered by the most, and the one that gives you probably the most joy?
I don't think that's an easy answer, because they're all interconnected. I think that Waypoint Mastermind is the nucleus. It's who I am. What I've been working for the past 12 years tirelessly. That's because it's my divine mission. That was my call. I can't escape it, and I tried. And I buried that sucker in the basement. I tried to get rid of Waypoint Mastermind so fast. because it was such a burden. I call it my magnificent obsession. So obviously it would have to be my magnificent obsession. Waypoint Mastermind is the thing that I have to be remembered for. But saying that, all of my projects contain, as a nucleus to those projects, Waypoint Mastermind as the foundation. So I bring me with me everywhere because that's who I am. Waypoint Mastermind is me.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. That's your divine mission.
What's that?
That's your divine mission.
Yeah, my divine mission is to help people lead lives of fulfillment.
Through the Waypoint Mastermind.
Right.
Right.
Waypoint Mastermind is a mechanism through which I bring people into alignment with their divine mission and to realize how powerful they really are and how strong they really are if they just get in touch with their authentic self and realize that what they believed about the world is not true. And when you put it in proper perspective, when you show them that the thoughts are not their thoughts, it's the monkey. The monkey was programmed by other people. And when you start breaking down and building a foundation under them that's actually strong, they start making massive change. And I think that's my my legacy. My legacy passed on is my, and I actually called Antonio one day and I told him, I said, Antonio, I want you to be my legacy carrier. I'm going to give you these tools, and I want you to promise that you're going to be the legacy carrier. That at least I have one person who I can pass them on to, that you're going to be the legacy carrier. I can confide in you and tell you every little duck secret, and you can be the legacy carrier. And then he'll turn that and pass it on to somebody else, and they'll pass it on to somebody else. And he's doing that, he's spreading it. And Anna's going to be spreading it in her way. And we're starting our own project with Starting Point, and we're going to be changing the lives of real estate agents and giving them a foundation upon which to stand very soon, probably launch for September. And Dinka and I, we have our own things that we work on together, but helping each other up with our coaching. And I think the four of us together are a massive team with massive skills that can do massive change. And I don't think we've even come close to the power that we can harness.
You know what got generated recently? And this is on a natural occurrence. The thing about having a circle, building that circle of trust, building the circle, that's very important to building this legacy. Because Waypoint is so daring and important that I cannot bring anybody into the circle. It got to be vetted, and it got to be a certain criteria, a standard. You know, you're not discriminating, but it's a certain standard. Because when you come in here, there's only one way you're going to be going, and that's up. Things are going to change. It's going to seem to be boring to you because you're outside of the circle. But you got to be ready to come in here. You got to be ready to come in. Now we should know now how to read people because we know about the monkey. We have something that most people don't have. We could see people monkeys from miles away. Facial changes. You ever realize that?
Yeah.
Feel it? Right. So this is all, I got this thing with the circle thing, and I'm really true to the circle. And I tell a lot of people about the circle, and people are trying their hardest to get into my circle now.
Well,
because they got something to strive for.
You didn't have a metric before for your circle.
Right, I did not.
And you've been tightening your circle as you tighten your metric, as you create your metric. And now you're allowing people in, but only people who are worthy of, only people who are going to be a black anchor, who are going to help keep you on track and to help you on your journey. Not people who are going to be sucking the life out of you like little purple anchors that you would find on your purple boat. But you had a lot of purple anchors in your boat, but now that you've replaced them with all black anchors, they don't have to match, Antonio. But
I could send you some tickets to have a boat ride. Purple boat, you know, you're talking about purple boat.
Yeah.
Jealous?
Yeah, and to understand purple boat, that's episode number 4. I mean, that's just It's an inside joke, but it's
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's funny.
if you want to know the whole purple joke thing. It was spontaneous too. He really doesn't have a purple boat. So, Dinka, you have any more? You're all done with your questions, right, Dinka?
No. Anna has some more questions.
Yeah, now it's Anna's turn.
Yeah.
Anna, you have questions for anybody?
Yes, I do. I have a question for Dinka. You did episode 2, the drunk monkey, and we talked about my drunk monkey, the lamb, the one that, you know, feels though she doesn't have a voice or an opinion. And so how would you describe your drunk monkey?
Ooh.
Well, my drunk monkey didn't really have a name at the time. I think the drunk monkey was a monkey that was very subservient, even though that's very much against my nature, very subservient, timid, no boundaries, very low self-esteem, and just a lot of self-shaming for things that I was not responsible for. Growing up, I always felt that it was somehow my fault that my mother died, and that I was never good enough. And that was my monkey, constantly telling me this, in spite of everything that I've achieved, because I came to this country, I went to college, I became a registered nurse, I helped many people, and I knew deep down somewhere that I was, you know, I was worthy and I could do so much more, but the monkey kept me in chains, kept me suffocated. And that actually brought on so many experiences into my life to actually confirm that belief. So I became a caretaker, a cheerleader, to the point of exhaustion, where I couldn't say no to people. And as you all know, the end result,
Yeah.
body just comes to the point and says, you know, I'm going to create an illness to get your attention. So that's, you know, Anna, that's a good question. I don't even know what the name of that monkey at that time would have been, but that was my drunk monkey, and Ron helped me testify. Monkey. Also, a lot of me, it wasn't so much of limiting beliefs, these blocked emotions that I wasn't allowed. If you remember that episode 2, what I was talking about, I wasn't allowed to actually show my feelings. I had to be very stern and serious and not cry or laugh. I remember when I went to a my first seminar with women, and one of the teachers there was saying, it's really interesting when everybody's laughing, there's something funny. Dinka, you're always serious, you're not laughing, and when everyone is crying, you're still serious. You always have that same. That was my mask. I wore a mask. Yeah. So I would say, you know, now as you're asking me, you know what the name of my monkey probably was? A clown. You know, a clown who cries inside, but always means everybody else. So I'm glad you asked that question, because answering your question, I actually visualized that clown. And I actually used to like clowns. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's interesting.
I was probably on some level unconscious identifying with clowns. So yeah, that was me. But not anymore.
Yeah.
And when we first met in that 45 minutes, when we first met that first time, I had to coach you and you had to coach me for practice. Your monkey was speaking loud and clear, but you didn't hear it. And all I did was I captured the monkey's words, repeated them back to you, and that was what you were looking for all those years in coaching and counseling and in introspection. You were trying to figure out what the heck was blocking you, and you kept on repeating over and over again the words of your father. And I remember that.
And I said to Ron, I said, and how did you know?
Yeah.
but I wasn't hearing it. You see, you don't hear, you don't,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was, wow, that was like a,
Mhm.
Yeah.
thank you, Ron.
Okay, Antonio, we have 42 episodes. Can you believe it? 42. This one will be the 43.
Mhm.
Which episode made a impact on you?
Oh, wow. So my favorite was 39. That's with Ron and his son when he was talking about son,
Mhm.
which hit it home to the medical system, which had to be done. These stories need to be told.
Mhm.
And it's a very heartfelt story. I know what Ron goes through every day with his children. Ron would talk to me about what they did, and I'm not going to call names about certain pediatricians and whatnot,
Mhm.
but Ron has to lift his son up the stairs. He hurts his back. This is religiously every night. Nobody could understand what he goes through,
Mhm.
right? They'll have an idea. That was my favorite one. I put that on a higher pedestal.
Yeah.
But the one that really impacted me was, I would say, Discerning Truth.
Mm.
Discerning truth, as we talk about up to the time, discerning truth is needed. It's the highest thing you could ever look to learn, because truth dissolves ignorance. And there's a lot of ignorance going on.
Mhm.
A serum of ignorance for the pill of truth dissolve. You want ignorance to go, take truth out, which is you're taking God out, right?
Mhm.
So truth above all, discerning truth. I mean, it's not going to be a long answer, but that one with discerning truth, because it must be learned.
Mhm.
You must not have you must have a strong sentry at that door, a Spartan, let's say, at that door, so that no dogmatic filth could get in. Dogmatic filth, yes, could get in. But discerning truth was
Yeah.
was because they have a lot of nuggets in there.
Yes.
That's, I think, one of the ones I had a book for that was just writing stuff down. Fear was another one, but discerning truth,
Mhm.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that was one for me.
Okay, Ron. This one is going to be easy. So, episode 31 about relationships. So, how would your wife describe you as a husband?
Oh, that's not fair, Anna.
Wow. All right. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, my wife and I have a very loving relationship. We've gone through hell and back.
Mhm.
It's been a long, long road. And most couples are torn apart by the things that we've had to go through. But I don't think we ever, and I think the reason we survived it is we were never the victim.
Mhm.
We were never the victim, but my work has me so engrossed that as a result, I think sometimes the relationship suffers. And not the relationship is at its core, but our closeness, our ability to be one-on-one together. There's not much of that anymore. There's not much time for her and I. And especially with the climate that we're currently in, we used to make time during the week to go to breakfast together because it was practical and it was easy. And every week we'd have a breakfast date and we'd sit and we'd hold hands and we'd talk, and that was the time. But now that we're homeschooling some of the kids and COVID, and everybody being home all at the same time, and everybody requiring so much individualized attention, they suffer. But I try to let her know that it's okay for her to come and ask me for things, because I might not be intuitively in tune with what her needs are. So she can, if she needs a hug, come give me a hug. I might not always recognize that I'm the one who needs to give it to her, and I own that. So give it to me, and I'll be fine with that. And if she needs it, she's now taking the initiative, and she comes to the office all the time, and she spends time with me in the office. She'll sit down in the chair and sit and talk to me. So I think we have room to grow. But I think overall it's okay. It's withstood a lot of storms.
A relationship, when you have you ever seen a perfect relationship? Have you ever seen a perfect relationship?
There is no such thing. There is no such.
No.
Something you got to work at.
We all evolve all the
It's a-
time. Yeah. No.
It's a workable thing. You don't run from it. You don't run from, face opposition. You don't run from it. You push that boulder, right?
Yeah.
Just like self-work, I work on ourselves. It's always under construction, your whole life. Same with relationships. They evolve, they go through, peaks and valleys. I don't believe there is a perfect relationship. I mean, you work towards it.
And there's so many dynamics to our relationships that it's very, very hard to balance the multiple facets of a relationship. So, we have to worry about our personality styles and our human needs and our love languages and all these components. And it gets really complicated. And for the average person, they don't even have half of those in view. So how are they supposed to balance a relationship if they don't even know what they're trying to balance? If they don't have the metrics in advance, how can they thrive in a relationship without the metrics, without the standards in place, and without an understanding at the beginning of what they both want?
Yeah, exactly.
You need to know where you are, the obstacles that lay ahead, and where you want to be. And it's very difficult because we're dealing with human beings with real life experiences, and each one of us bring a whole plethora of experiences that differ. And we have programming that differs. Our monkeys are different.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're in the honeymoon stage. We hide the monkey. So we keep the monkey from each other. We don't get to see the monkey.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're in the honeymoon stage. Let's date, and everybody's so wonderful. And then they buckle down, get married, and then all of a sudden you can come off the conscious mode and lay your head down and get into drunk monkey mode.
Yeah.
And then when they see you drunk monkey, they say, "Boy, is that ugly."
The funky monkey.
Yeah. The funky monkey. The funky monkey.
That's why family should be first. That's the golden nugget right there. You focus on your household, focus on your wife, your husband, just household period, the family. Because most people focus on the work more, think that the work is more important. Think that the work is more important, and they fall into the mistake where well, this put food on the table. What do you think, woman? What do you hear that fights, those fights? But they got to be careful with that. That verbiage, you have to be careful with that, because you are going to feel like you're not noticed. Remember, Ken?
Yeah.
And I think that most people need to understand what I think is one of the most important rules of relationships is to decide that it's more important to be in love than to be correct.
That's right. Yep.
It's okay. You have to acquiesce. You have to allow the monkey in the room of your partner and allow the monkey to and then ignore it and just go back to what you're doing, because you can fight and argue. In the end, it's not going to bring you closer. And we all have the monkey problems, and we have to recognize that the monkey is not us. We're not the monkey. And that our partner brings with them a certain amount of baggage, and they didn't ask for that programming. Somebody else gave it to them. And we, especially the four of us, we are more awake and aware than most. So most people are drifting aimlessly in the current social expectation without any idea of the things that are plaguing their lives and the reason why they keep on ending up in the rocks and the shores of despair. And the reason they are is because their monkey is in charge of their boat. And unless and until they're willing to recognize that they have a monkey and that monkey is running their life, and then decide to take over full responsibility for that boat and for that journey, their life is not going to improve.
Mhm.
And if they rely on the current to fulfill its promises and deliver what they're hoping, they're going to be sadly mistaken and disappointed in the end. There's no Calvary coming. It's all up to us.
That's why I tell my clients when they come with relationship problems and, give me the tools. First, you have to work on yourself. First, you have to meet your monkey. First, you have to really come to the point where you take responsibility for yourself. And that's when you can work on your relationship. Starts with you. There's no magic tool now that suddenly both of you are going to correct what's going on. It starts with each person taking responsibility. And at first it's a solo journey. And then once they are at the point where they can really evolve to certain extent and see that now, the monkey's not running the program so much. Now we can really consciously use those tools and work on our relationship. And so many marriages can be saved. People think, I always tell my clients, okay, divorce is fine. Yeah, it's fine if you cannot work it out. But so many times that divorce is just a piece of paper that tells you that it's legal for you now to marry another guy, let's say, and repeat the same mistakes all over again. So even if you decide to go through a divorce or you decide to stay, the first thing you need to do, you need to work on yourself so you don't make the same mistakes again. And that's what people do. They find the same types of partners and they repeat the same mistakes. So the work starts with you.
Well, I think that this was a great discussion. It's going to be completely different than what we've done in the past. And I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. And there's any last words? Anybody have any words of wisdom to leave behind? No? Okay.
Well, very empowering for me. Our mastermind group is very empowering, and I'm just very happy to be part of this. And I always leave after our meetings. I always leave as a better person than I was when I came to these meetings. So thank you.
And thank all of you for being in my life and being a part of this wonderful journey and trusting in me and trusting in each other, because we've come quite a bit on our journey.
I know. You got any napkins, Dinka?
I'm sorry?
Any tissues?
And remember,
Life is the ocean.
a strong broken foundation. If you want to succeed, identify a harbor,
And sail
throw your
outside.
sail outside your drift on social expectation, and
Let's go
let's go
fishing.
fishing.
Come on, guys. Excellent. Fantabulous.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Gone Fishing Podcast. Connect with us at www.waypointmastermind.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter to receive our free tools and resources. This podcast has been brought to you by Waypoint Mastermind. Personal growth and support through collaboration with a community of like-minded achievers. See you in the next episode.